The press room in the Rayburn House office building buzzed with anticipation. Reporters checked their recorders and adjusted their cameras, knowing this wasn't a routine press conference. Representative Jasmine Crockett, the rising star from Texas's 30th congressional district, had called this meeting with just 2 hours' notice, a clear sign that something major was about to break. When Crockett entered, the usual murmur of conversation died instantly. She walked with purposeful strides, flanked by two serious-looking attorneys carrying thick document folders. Her normally warm demeanor was replaced by a focused intensity that immediately commanded attention. Behind her, a large screen displayed a simple slide with the words, "Truth still matters." Crockett approached the podium, adjusted the microphone, and took a deep breath. The room fell completely silent. "Good morning," she began, her voice steady and resolute. "Today I have filed a $200 million zero-cents defamation lawsuit against Mark Levin, host of Life, Liberty, and Levine on Fox News, for statements he made that were not just false, but deliberately and maliciously fabricated to damage my reputation and undermine my ability to serve my constituents." The room erupted in chaos, reporters shouting questions simultaneously. Crockett raised her hand and the room gradually quieted. On his program 3 weeks ago, Mr. Levin claimed that I had diverted congressional funds to my personal accounts and used taxpayer money to finance luxury vacations. He further alleged that I had taken bribes from foreign entities to influence my votes on key legislation. Crockett's voice grew stronger, her eyes flashing with controlled anger. "These claims are not just false, they are provably false, and we have evidence that Mr. Levin knew they were false when he made them." With a nod to her aide, the screen behind her changed to show a series of documents, including financial records and emails. "These are the complete financial records that my office submitted to the House Ethics Committee months ago, showing every penny accounted for and properly allocated. And this," the screen changed again, "is an email from Mr. Levin's producer, acknowledging receipt of these same records 2 days before his broadcast." A collective gasp rippled through the press corps. One veteran reporter whispered to his colleague, "She's got receipts." "I have always welcomed scrutiny and honest debate," Crockett continued. "But when someone with a massive platform deliberately spreads lies to millions of viewers, knowing those statements to be false, they must be held accountable. This lawsuit isn't just about me. It's about protecting the integrity of our public discourse." As she spoke, breaking news alerts buzzed on phones throughout the room. The story was spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, across town, Mark Levin was in the middle of recording his radio show when his producer frantically entered the studio, holding up a phone displaying a news alert. Levin's face, normally flushed with passionate rhetoric, drained of color as he read the headline. The producer quickly cut to a commercial break, but not before listeners heard Levin's microphone catch a startled, "What the hell?" The moment, captured by a studio intern and later leaked online, would become the first viral image of what would soon be known as the Levin lawsuit. His face a mixture of shock, confusion, and the dawning realization that he might have finally gone too far. Back at the press conference, Crockett held up a thick document, the official lawsuit filing. "When Mr. Levin receives this today, his face will say it all. This ends now." Before we dive deeper into this explosive confrontation between two of America's most powerful political voices, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for ongoing coverage of this unprecedented legal battle. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates as this dramatic story unfolds. Now let's look at what led to this extraordinary moment. To understand the seismic impact of this confrontation, we need to understand who these two combatants are and what drives them. Jasmine Crockett and Mark Levin represented two starkly different visions of America, two different approaches to political discourse, and two different generations of leadership. Jasmine Crockett's journey to Congress had been remarkable by any standard. A civil rights attorney who had defended the wrongfully accused and fought for voting rights in Texas, she had built her reputation on meticulous preparation and unwavering integrity. After serving in the Texas State House, she won election to Congress in a decisive victory that signaled a generational change in leadership. In Washington, Crockett quickly distinguished herself not just by her progressive policies, but by her approach. Where many expected fiery speeches and partisan attacks, she instead became known for her methodical dismantling of opposition arguments. her point-by-point refutations, backed by evidence and clear reasoning. Facts first became her unofficial motto. Representative Crockett brings a lawyer's precision to everything she does, noted congressional correspondent Elena Diaz. She doesn't just make claims, she builds cases. That's what makes her both respected and feared on Capitol Hill. Her effectiveness had not gone unnoticed by conservative media. In the months leading up to Levin's accusations, Crockett had successfully introduced legislation strengthening voting rights and had been instrumental in passing a bill expanding healthcare access. Both initiatives strongly opposed by right-wing commentators. Mark Levin, by contrast, had built his career as a firebrand of conservative media. A former Reagan administration official turned radio host and Fox News personality, Levin had cultivated an audience of millions with his passionate defense of conservative principles and blistering attacks on progressive politicians. Known for his dramatic delivery and uncompromising stance, Levin had nicknamed himself the Great One and positioned himself as a guardian of constitutional originalism. His program Life, Liberty, and Levin regularly featured lengthy monologues critiquing what he saw as the dangerous leftward drift of American politics. Levin speaks to and for a segment of America that feels their values are under constant assault, explained media analyst James Rivera. His listeners don't tune in for measured analysis, they tune in for righteous indignation and validation of their worldview. The collision course between these two figures had begun months earlier when Crockett had appeared before the House Judiciary Committee and systematically dismantled arguments against her voting rights bill, citing constitutional precedents and statistical evidence that contradicted claims Levin had been making on his show for weeks. Levin had responded with increasing vitriol on his program, initially focusing on policy disagreements but gradually shifting to more personal attacks. The final escalation came during a segment where he moved from criticizing her policies to making specific allegations about her personal finances and ethics. Representative Crockett wants to control how you vote while she's living large on taxpayer money, Levin had declared, his voice rising to its familiar crescendo. I'm told she's diverted congressional funds to her personal accounts. I'm told she's used your money for luxury vacations, and sources say she's been influenced by foreign entities on key votes. This is corruption, plain and simple. The clip went viral, amplified across social media, and picked up by other conservative outlets. Within days, Crockett began receiving death threats. Constituents called her office demanding explanations. Her effectiveness in Congress was suddenly in jeopardy as colleagues from both parties began to distance themselves, unwilling to be associated with potential scandal. What Levin didn't know, what he couldn't have anticipated, was that Crockett had been methodically documenting every financial transaction since taking office, anticipating that as a progressive woman of color, her ethics would eventually be questioned. She had voluntarily submitted to additional financial scrutiny by the House Ethics Committee months earlier and had been completely cleared. More importantly, her team had evidence that Levin's producers had been provided with these same financial records before his broadcast, evidence that would form the cornerstone of her defamation claim. Under the law, public figures must prove not just that damaging false statements were made, but that they were made with actual malice, knowledge of their falsity, or reckless disregard for the truth. The $200 million zero-cent figure isn't random, explained media law expert Professor Sarah Chen. It reflects both compensatory damages for the harm to Crockett's reputation and punitive damages intended to deter similar behavior in the future. It's also a signal that she believes she has an exceptionally strong case. For Crockett, the stakes extended far beyond her personal reputation. As one of the youngest members of Congress and a rising voice in progressive politics, this moment would either define or destroy her career. A successful lawsuit would establish her as someone who couldn't be intimidated or smeared. A failure would permanently attach questions to her integrity, regardless of the facts. For Levin, the stakes were equally high. His brand had always been aggressive commentary that pushed boundaries, but actual defamation with malice would cross a legal line that could threaten not just his personal finances, but his entire media empire. Fox News had already paid hundreds of millions to settle defamation claims in recent years and had reportedly instituted stricter fact-checking protocols as a result. Beyond the individuals involved, the case had potential to reshape the boundaries of political commentary in America. At its heart lay a fundamental question. When does heated political rhetoric cross the line into legally actionable defamation? As news of the lawsuit spread, Americans found themselves divided not just along the usual partisan lines, but also on deeper questions about responsibility, truth, and the nature of public discourse in a democracy. The battle lines were drawn, the combatants were positioned, and the nation was watching, sensing that the outcome would resonate far beyond the immediate participants. The stage was set for what legal observers were already calling the defamation case of the decade. In the days following Crockett's bombshell announcement, the story exploded across every media platform. News channels ran constant updates, legal experts dissected the complaint, social media erupted with hashtags Crockett TV, Levin, and media accountability, and 200 million trended simultaneously. Mark Levin's initial response came not through a formal statement, but through his radio program the day after the lawsuit was filed. Listeners who expected contrition or concern heard something very different. "This is exactly how the radical left operates, folks," Levin declared, his voice regaining its characteristic intensity. "When they can't win on ideas, they try to silence their critics with lawsuits. Representative Crockett doesn't want to address the substance of my concerns about her conduct. She wants to drag me through the courts and drain my resources," he continued, doubling down on his original claims. "I stand by everything I said. My sources are solid. This lawsuit is frivolous and will be thrown out by any judge who respects the First Amendment. I will not be intimidated." Fox News issued a more measured statement. "We take all claims seriously and are reviewing the complaint. Our network is committed to factual reporting and commentary, and we will address this matter through appropriate legal channels." Crockett's legal team wasted no time in responding to Levin's on-air defiance. The day after his broadcast, they filed an amendment to their original complaint, adding his new statements as further evidence of malice and requesting an expedited discovery process. Mr. Levin has now twice made demonstrably false claims about Representative Crockett, despite being presented with evidence refuting those claims, her lead attorney, Michael Washington, told reporters outside the courthouse. "We welcome the opportunity to depose Mr. Levin under oath and to subpoena his sources, which we believe will show that no such sources exist." The first major hearing was scheduled for early the following week. Both sides prepared intensively, knowing that the judge's initial rulings would set the tone for the entire case. Legal experts noted that if the judge granted the expedited discovery request, it would signal a preliminary finding that Crockett's team had demonstrated a plausible case of defamation with actual malice. The hearing itself became a media spectacle. Hundreds gathered outside the federal courthouse, supporters of both Crockett and Levin carrying signs and chanting competing slogans. Inside, Judge Rebecca Sandoval, known for her no-nonsense demeanor and meticulous adherence to precedent, made it clear from the outset that she would not tolerate political theater in her courtroom. "This is a court of law, not a campaign rally or a television studio," she admonished as proceedings began. "I expect all arguments to be based on legal precedent and factual evidence, not rhetoric or personal attacks." Levin's legal team, led by high-profile defamation attorney Thomas Reynolds, argued forcefully that the case should be dismissed. "Your Honor, commentary on public figures, especially elected officials, enjoys the highest protection under the First Amendment," Reynolds asserted. Mr. Levin was expressing opinions based on information provided by confidential sources, which is core protected speech. Crockett's attorney countered by projecting the exact quotes from Levin's show onto the courtroom's evidence screen. "These are not opinions, Your Honor. Mr. Levin made specific factual claims about financial impropriety and foreign influence, claims that are demonstrably false and that we believe he knew were false when he made them," and then presented the email showing that Levin's production team had received Crockett's financial records before the broadcast. "This isn't about silencing criticism. Representative Crockett welcomes policy debates. This is about knowingly spreading falsehoods that harm both an individual's reputation and the public's right to accurate information." After 3 hours of intense argumentation, Judge Sandoval delivered her initial ruling. The case would proceed to discovery, and that process would indeed be expedited. "The plaintiff has established a plausible claim of defamation with actual malice, sufficient to warrant discovery," she stated. "I am particularly interested in the defendant's sources for these allegations and the steps taken to verify them before broadcast. It was a significant early victory for Crockett. As legal experts noted, many defamation cases brought by public figures never make it past this initial hurdle. The judge had effectively ruled that if Crockett's evidence was proven, it could indeed constitute defamation with actual malice. The ruling sent shockwaves through conservative media. That evening, other Fox News hosts noticeably avoided mentioning the case at all. Levin himself canceled his radio show for the first time in years, citing a scheduling conflict. Sources close to him reported that he was meeting extensively with his legal team and Fox executives. The discovery process began immediately and proved even more explosive than anticipated. Crockett's legal team subpoenaed all communications related to the segment, including emails between Levin, his producers, and his purported sources. They also requested Levin's phone records and internal Fox News communications about fact-checking procedures. Levin's team fought these requests vigorously, particularly the demand for source identities, arguing journalistic privilege. Judge Sandoval largely sided with Crockett, ruling that while Levin could withhold his sources' names for now, he must provide evidence that such sources actually existed and that he had made reasonable efforts to verify their claims. 2 weeks into discovery, the first major bombshell dropped. Crockett's team filed a motion containing emails between Levin and his executive producer, Jacob Turner, discussing the planned segment on Crockett. The emails had been provided by Fox News in response to a subpoena. In one exchange, Turner had written, "I've reviewed the financial documents Crockett's office sent over. They seem to refute the allegations completely. All expenditures are accounted for and approved by House administration." Levin's response was damning. "The documents don't matter. Our audience won't see them. She's becoming too effective with her legislation. We need to take her down a notch." When these emails became public, Levin's defense strategy crumbled. His attorney requested an emergency conference with the judge, after which rumors of settlement discussions began circulating. Fox News, apparently sensing disaster, issued a new statement distancing itself from Levin. "These alleged communications do not reflect Fox News' standards or expectations for our hosts and producers. We are conducting our own internal investigation." But Crockett wasn't interested in a quick settlement. "This isn't just about me," she told supporters at a town hall in her district. "It's about whether we still value truth in our public discourse. I intend to see this through to a verdict." The next phase of discovery produced another revelation. When pressed by the court to provide evidence of his sources, Levin's team could only produce screenshots of anonymous social media posts and a single email from an unverified address making vague accusations without any supporting evidence. "This is extraordinary," commented legal analyst Miguel Santos. He presented speculation from anonymous internet users as credible sources for accusations of criminal misconduct by a member of Congress, despite having documentary evidence contradicting those claims. It's hard to imagine a clearer case of reckless disregard for the truth. With each new revelation, public opinion shifted further in Crockett's favor. A poll showed that 64% of Americans now believed Levin had knowingly made false claims, including 42% of self-identified conservatives. Fox News' stock price dropped as investors worried about potential liability. 3 months into the legal battle, Judge Sandoval made another crucial ruling. Levin would be required to sit for a deposition under oath, and that deposition would be videotaped. Despite his attorney's strenuous objections, the judge was unmoved. "The defendant has made statements about his sources and his belief in the truth of his allegations," she wrote. "The plaintiff has the right to question him about these matters under oath." The deposition was scheduled for the following month. As that date approached, Levin made fewer public appearances. His once defiant tone on his radio show became noticeably muted. Those close to him reported that he was increasingly concerned about potential perjury charges if he maintained under oath that he had believed his allegations were true. The night before the scheduled deposition, Levin made one last attempt to avoid testifying. His lawyers filed an emergency motion claiming he was suffering from severe stress, health issues, and needed a postponement. Judge Sandoval ordered an independent medical evaluation, which concluded that while Levin was indeed experiencing stress, he was physically capable of testifying. The stage was set for what promised to be one of the most dramatic depositions in recent legal history. A conservative media icon facing questions under oath about whether he had deliberately lied to damage a progressive politician. Legal experts noted that Levin faced an impossible choice: Either admit to knowingly making false statements or potentially commit perjury by claiming he believed allegations that documentary evidence showed he knew were false. As Levin entered the law offices where the deposition would take place, photographers captured an image that would soon dominate news coverage, his face showing a combination of anger, fear, and resignation. The man who had built his career on righteous indignation now faced the prospect of answering for his words under penalty of perjury. Behind closed doors, with cameras rolling, the questioning began. The deposition room was sparsely furnished: a long wooden table, comfortable chairs, water pitchers, and the unblinking eye of a video camera. Present were Levin, his attorneys, Crockett's legal team led by Michael Washington, and the court reporter. Representative Crockett herself was not in attendance, having decided that her presence might distract from the proceedings. The session began at 9:00 a.m. and was scheduled to last up to 7 hours. Washington started with straightforward background questions about Levin's show, his research process, and his understanding of the difference between opinion and factual claims. Levin answered calmly, even confidently, clearly prepared by his attorneys for this initial phase. Then Washington shifted focus, displaying a transcript of the specific segment about Crockett on a large monitor visible to everyone in the room. Mr. Levin, you stated on your show, and I quote, "I'm told she's diverted congressional funds to her personal accounts. Who told you this?" Levin shifted in his seat. "I received information from confidential sources that I believe to be reliable." "Please name these sources," Washington pressed. Levin's attorney interjected, "My client is asserting journalistic privilege regarding source identities." Washington nodded, seemingly anticipating this response. "Very well, Mr. Levin, when you received this information, what steps did you take to verify it before broadcasting it to millions of viewers?" This question appeared to unsettle Levin more. "I evaluated the credibility of my sources based on past reliability. Did you review any documentation supporting these serious allegations?" "My sources provided certain materials, yes." "What materials specifically?" After conferring quietly with his attorney, Levin responded, "Social media posts and an email detailing concerns about Representative Crockett's spending." Washington then produced a folder. "I'm entering into evidence as Exhibit A, the email from your producer Jacob Turner sent to you 3 days before your broadcast. The email states, and I quote, "I've reviewed the financial documents Crockett's office sent over. They seem to refute the allegations completely. All expenditures are accounted for and approved by House administration." "Did you receive this email?" Levin's face tightened. "Yes." "Did you read it?" "Yes." "And now I'm entering Exhibit B, your response to Mr. Turner. You wrote, and again I quote, 'The documents don't matter. Our audience won't see them. She's becoming too effective with her legislation. We need to take her down a notch.' Did you write this email?" The room fell silent. Levin conferred with his attorneys for several minutes before responding. "Yes, I wrote that email, but it's being taken out of context. Please explain the context that would make this appropriate." Levin struggled visibly. "I meant that despite the documents, there were still questions about her conduct that our audience should know about." Washington pressed further. "But you acknowledged in this email that there were documents contradicting the very allegations you planned to broadcast, correct?" "The documents were incomplete," Levin insisted, his voice rising slightly. "Exhibit C," Washington continued calmly, "is the complete financial record submitted by Representative Crockett to the House Ethics Committee and provided to your production team. This 76-page document details every expenditure, complete with receipts and approvals. It was attached to the email your producer sent you. Did you review this document before your broadcast?" After another conference with his attorneys, Levin responded, "I reviewed parts of it." "Enough to know that it contradicted your planned allegations?" Levin's attorney objected to the characterization, but the question remained. "I was aware that the documents purported to show proper expenditures," Levin finally admitted. Washington continued methodically through each allegation Levin had made, establishing through emails, document timestamps, and Levin's own admissions that he had been aware of contradicting evidence before making his claims. 4 hours into the deposition, the pattern was undeniable. Finally, Washington arrived at the central question. "Mr. Levin, given all we've established today, Isn't it true that when you made these allegations about Representative Crockett, you knew they were false, or at least had serious doubts about their truth? Levin's attorneys called for a break. When they returned after 30 minutes, Levin's demeanor had changed noticeably. He looked defeated, the combative energy that defined his public persona entirely absent. Levin, his own attorney, said, "We've advised our client that he should amend his previous testimony." What followed was extraordinary. Levin cleared his throat and spoke directly to the camera. "I acknowledge that when I made those statements about Representative Crockett, I had received documentation that contradicted my allegations. I did not have credible sources for the claims I made. My statements were motivated by political opposition to her policies and effectiveness, not by a belief in their truth." Washington, maintaining his professional composure, asked one final question. "To be clear, you knowingly made false statements about Representative Crockett with the intention of damaging her reputation?" "Yes," Levin answered quietly, "I did." Deposition concluded shortly after. While the proceedings had been closed to the public, news of Levin's admission spread rapidly through legal and media circles. By evening, though the full video had not been released, the key admissions had been reported by every major outlet. Fox News immediately announced that Levin's show was on hiatus while they reviewed the matter. Other conservative commentators who had defended Levin now struggled to respond, many choosing silence over continued support. The following morning, Crockett held a press conference, her first public appearance since the deposition. She spoke with measured dignity. "Yesterday, Mr. Levin acknowledged under oath what I have maintained from the beginning, that he knowingly made false statements to damage my reputation and undermine my work in Congress. This admission isn't cause for celebration. It's a sobering reminder of how political discourse can be poisoned by deliberate misinformation." She continued, "I didn't file this lawsuit lightly. I did so because truth still matters. Facts still matter. We can disagree vigorously about policy without resorting to lies and character assassination. That's not liberal or conservative. It's about basic integrity in public life." 3 days later, Levin's attorneys approached Crockett's team about settlement discussions. Judge Sandoval appointed a mediator, and intensive negotiations began. After a week of talks, the parties reached an agreement that stunned observers with its scope. The terms included a $50 million 0-cent payment to Crockett, a public apology and retraction to be broadcast on Fox News in the same time slot as the original allegations, and, most remarkably, the establishment of a $150 million 0-cents foundation dedicated to promoting media literacy, journalistic ethics, and civil political discourse. At the formal settlement announcement, Crockett explained her decision to accept these terms rather than proceed to trial. "This resolution achieves everything I sought: personal accountability, public correction of the record, and a lasting positive impact. The Media Integrity Foundation will work to ensure that what happened in this case becomes less common in our political landscape." Levin, appearing alongside his attorneys, read a prepared statement. "I apologize to Representative Crockett for making false statements about her on my program. My actions fell short of the standards of journalistic integrity that the public deserves. While we have political differences, those differences should be debated honestly, based on facts rather than fabrications." The settlement brought formal closure to the legal case, but its impact continued to reverberate through media and political circles. Fox News announced a comprehensive review of its fact-checking protocols and commentary standards. Several other networks followed suit, implementing stronger verification requirements for allegations against public figures. For Crockett, vindication came not just in the legal victory, but in the public's response. A town hall in her district that had been planned before the settlement became an impromptu celebration, with constituents from across the political spectrum expressing support for her stand on principle. "I didn't vote for you and probably won't in the future," one older gentleman told her during the question period, "but I respect the hell out of what you just did." Truth matters whatever side you're on. As Crockett looked out at the diverse crowd, conservatives and progressives, young and old, all united in appreciation for this rare moment of clarity in American politics, she felt a profound sense that something important had been accomplished. The battle had been difficult, but necessary. "We can disagree without demonizing," she told them. "We can debate without deceiving. That's not just a legal standard, it's a moral one. And today, I'm hopeful that we've taken a step toward reclaiming that principle. The months following the historic settlement between Representative Jasmine Crockett and Mark Levin saw profound changes rippling through American media and politics. What began as a personal legal battle had evolved into a national reckoning about truth, accountability, and the boundaries of political discourse. For Crockett, the aftermath brought both new opportunities and challenges. Her national profile had risen dramatically, with profile features in major publications focusing not just on the lawsuit, but on her legislative accomplishments that had previously received little attention. The defamation warrior, as Time magazine dubbed her in a cover story, had become an unexpected champion for a cause that transcended traditional partisan lines. The insistence that factual accuracy still mattered in political debate. In Congress, Crockett found herself with newfound influence. Colleagues who had distanced themselves during the controversy now sought her support for legislation. Her voting rights bill, which had been stalled in committee, suddenly gained new co-sponsors, including 2 moderate Republicans. There's a certain moral authority that comes from standing up for truth and being vindicated so completely, noted political analyst Rebecca Chen. Representative Crockett now carries that authority, and it's translating into legislative effectiveness. True to her word, Crockett directed her personal portion of the settlement, after legal fees, to establishing scholarships for students pursuing careers in journalism, law, and public service, with a focus on ethics and integrity. The announcement of the Crockett Truth in Public Service Scholarships generated thousands of applications in its first year, but perhaps most significant was her role in shaping the Media Integrity Foundation established by the settlement. Though she declined a position on its board to maintain independence, her input on its mission and programs was evident. The foundation launched with 3 main initiatives: a fact-checking service providing real-time verification of claims made in political media, educational programs teaching media literacy in schools, and the annual Integrity in Media Awards, recognizing journalism that maintained high standards of accuracy and fairness while covering controversial topics. This isn't about promoting any political ideology, Crockett explained at the foundation's formal launch. It's about creating a shared commitment to factual accuracy as the starting point for all political debate. We can and should disagree about policy solutions and philosophical approaches, but those disagreements must be grounded in a common set of verifiable facts. For Levin, the aftermath was a period of profound professional and personal reckoning. His media empire, built over decades, had suffered a severe blow. His Fox News program was officially canceled 2 weeks after the settlement, and his radio syndication deal was not renewed when it expired 3 months later. Initially, he retreated from public view entirely. Sources close to him reported that he was struggling to come to terms with the very public unraveling of his carefully constructed persona. When he finally broke his silence 6 months after the settlement, it was in an unexpected forum, a lengthy essay in The Atlantic titled, "What I Got Wrong." The piece, which many suspected had been heavily edited and shaped by professional writers, nonetheless offered what appeared to be genuine reflection. "I built my career on passionate advocacy for principles I believed in," he wrote. Somewhere along the way, winning the argument became more important than ensuring the argument was based in truth. The line between commentary and fabrication blurred, and I crossed it repeatedly, and in the case of Representative Crockett, egregiously. The essay sparked intense debate, with some dismissing it as reputation management and others seeing a sincere attempt at atonement. Levin declined all interview requests, but did announce that he would be teaching a course on ethics in political commentary at a conservative college the following year. Beyond the central figures, the case's resolution had triggered widespread changes throughout the media landscape. Fox News, facing pressure from insurers and investors concerned about potential liability, implemented a comprehensive overhaul of its commentary standards. The new Fox News Standards and Practices Guide, leaked to media reporters, required rigorous fact-checking of all specific allegations against individuals and explicit on-air distinctions between factual claims and opinion. Hosts were required to sign agreements acknowledging that deliberate falsehoods were grounds for immediate termination. Other networks, both conservative and progressive, implemented similar measures of potential defamation claims. The standard disclaimer, "The views expressed are solely those of the host," began to disappear, replaced by more explicit commitments to factual accuracy, In legal circles, the case established important precedent for future defamation claims by public figures. The Crockett Standard, as it became known, clarified that while robust political debate remained protected, demonstrable knowledge of falsity, particularly when documented in internal communications, could overcome the traditionally high bar for proving actual malice. Law schools added the case to their curricula with particular focus on the evidentiary standards that had proven decisive. Media law experts noted a significant increase in pre-publication legal review of potentially controversial segments across all networks. Perhaps the most profound impact, however, was on public discourse itself. A phrase entered the political lexicon, to Levin someone, meaning to make knowingly false allegations against a political opponent. The term was used across the political spectrum as a shorthand for crossing the line from legitimate criticism to deliberate smear. The settlement had effectively created a new boundary in political combat. Fierce disagreement remained acceptable, even encouraged. Character assassination based on fabrication now carried potentially catastrophic consequences. 1 year after the settlement, a comprehensive study by the Columbia Journalism Review found a 43% decrease in unsubstantiated personal allegations in political commentary across all major networks. The study's authors attributed this directly to the Crockett effect, commentators' awareness of potential legal and professional consequences. The Media Integrity Foundation, now fully operational with its $150 million 0-cents endowment, had become an influential force in its own right. Its fact-checking service was widely cited, and its media literacy curriculum had been adopted by school districts in 46 states. In a development that surprised many, the foundation announced that its board would include respected figures from across the political spectrum, including former network executives, journalism professors, and legal experts in First Amendment law. The foundation's strength is its commitment to principles that transcend partisan divides, explained its inaugural executive director, Professor James Martinez. We don't take positions on policy questions. We focus solely on factual accuracy and fair representation of opposing views. On the second anniversary of the settlement, Crockett and the Foundation co-hosted a symposium titled Truth and Consequences: Rebuilding Trust in Political Communication. The event brought together journalists, politicians, academics, and media executives for frank discussions about the challenges and responsibilities of political commentary. In her keynote address, Crockett reflected on the journey that had begun with a defamatory broadcast and culminated in this gathering of media leaders committed to reform. 2 years ago, I stood at a podium much like this one and announced a lawsuit that many thought would go nowhere, she told the audience. I was told that defamation cases by public figures almost never succeed, that the legal standard was too high, that I should just develop a thicker skin. But I believed then, as I believe now, that we must draw lines in our public discourse not to restrict free speech, but to insist that with great platforms comes great responsibility. The right to express opinions, even highly controversial ones, is sacred in our democracy. The fabrication of damaging falsehoods is not. She continued, the changes we've seen in the past 2 years aren't just about legal liability or corporate policy. They reflect a renewed understanding that democracy depends on a shared commitment to truth as the foundation for all debate. We can disagree passionately about what the facts mean without disagreeing about what the facts are. The symposium concluded with the surprise announcement that the following year's Integrity in Media Award would be presented by an unlikely pair, Jasmine Crockett and Mark Levin together, symbolizing the possibility of moving from conflict to collaboration in service of a healthier public discourse. When asked by reporters if she had forgiven Levin, Crockett offered a nuanced response that captured the complexity of their journey. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It's about choosing not to be defined by injury or consumed by resentment. Mr. Levin and I will never agree on policy, and I haven't forgotten the harm his false statements caused. But I recognize his efforts to make meaningful amends, and I believe in the possibility of growth and change, for individuals and for our political culture. As the case receded into history, becoming a standard reference in law schools and journalism programs, its lasting impact was best captured by an exchange during a town hall in Crockett's district. A high school student asked her what she was most proud of accomplishing in Congress. She thought for a moment before responding. The legislation matters enormously, the voting rights protections, the health care expansions, the criminal justice reforms. But perhaps what matters most is helping to establish that truth itself isn't partisan. Facts aren't liberal or conservative, and insisting on factual accuracy in our political debates isn't about silencing criticism. It's about ensuring that criticism is based in reality rather than fabrication. The student nodded thoughtfully, then asked a follow-up question that went to the heart of the case's legacy. Do you think it's made a lasting difference in how politics works? Crockett smiled. I think it's too soon to say lasting. What I know is that it made a difference, and now it's up to all of us, politicians, journalists, and citizens, to build on that difference. The lawsuit created consequences for a specific type of harmful behavior in our political discourse, but the deeper work of rebuilding a culture of truth and mutual respect, that's a project for generations. In Washington and beyond, that project continued. Imperfect and incomplete, but fundamentally altered by the confrontation between a congresswoman who refused to accept defamation as the cost of public service and a media figure who finally faced consequences for crossing the line between commentary and fabrication. And while American politics remained as divided as ever on questions of policy and principle, something subtle but significant had shifted in the rules of engagement. A renewed recognition that democracy depends not just on the freedom to speak, but on a shared commitment to speak truthfully. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political analysis and breaking stories. Hit the notification bell to be the first to know when we publish new content about other major political developments. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think this case has changed political media in America? Should other public figures follow Crockett's example when faced with deliberate misinformation?